Cannot believe it is the final week of the college football regular season. I cannot believe it is Thanksgiving, but thank you so much for taking time out of your week to tune in. I am Ralph Michaels. This is the WagerTalk NFL Trends and Angles Report, obviously for the week of Thanksgiving. Well, we're to the nitty gritty of the NFL season, so I have a chart breaking down poor teams, mid-range teams, and good teams at the end of the season. I'm going to break down one of my trends step by step. A few of you have said, how do you find these trends? What do you have to do? We'll walk through the process. And then, as always, we're going to finish it off with 4 NFL super systems, including an 83% system that's applicable to 2 teams. Well, let's get right to it. You'll see on the chart, the top are NFL teams from game number 12 and later that have a win percentage, a straight up win percentage under 40. In the middle, you see teams with a win percentage of 40% or higher and under 60%. And on the bottom, we're looking at NFL teams with a win percentage of 60% and higher from game number 12 to game number 15. Now, all this data goes back since 2015. When they moved the extra point back, that's usually my starting chart to give us big enough sample sizes. I did not include games 16 and 17 because so many NFL teams rest their starters. If they're playoff teams, it's not true data. And yes, game 16 have been legitimate for the last few years. But when I go back to 2015, there are too many seasons there to sway that game number 16 data. So we just left it out. So we're going to be looking at the next 4 games to see if we have any patterns. Remember, guys, there's times we do these charts and we learn that there is no pattern, that we can't be swayed by what we think should happen. So let's take a look at the top. These are poor teams, teams with win percentages under 40%. Let's take a look at the home favorites. You see that home favorites for bad teams do poorly games 12 and 13, but late in the season, they do have some success. Home dogs. Well, home dogs games 12 through 15, 45% against the spread. And take a look at 12, 13, and 14, all those red numbers. If you are a crappy team, but you're still an away favorite, well, Vegas has it right. You're an away favorite for a reason. 57, 73, 75, and 50%. So away favorites with a win percentage under 40%, 18 and 10, 64.3% against the spread. And away dogs that have a losing record, pretty up and down, right around the 50% mark. In the middle, let's take a look at those teams from 40% to 60%. Take a look at those bottom totals, guys. 52% is a home favorite, under 40% is a home dog, under 40% is an away favorite, 45.3% as an away dog. So those teams in the mid-range, as a home favorite, they've been okay. But as a home dog, away favorite, and away dog, they have been fades. On the very bottom, we have teams with win percentage of 60% or higher. Take a look at the bottom totals. As a home favorite, they're right around 50% with the juice. As a home dog, winning teams as a home dog, 15 and 9, 62.5% against the spread. Good teams as an away favorite, 73 and 51, 59% against the spread. And the only negative, and that really is game 15, late in the year, those very good teams as an away dog. Again, take a look at that game 15 record, 4 and 12, 25% against the spread. So a couple things to take out of it. A crappy team late in the year, if you're an away favorite, there's a reason. And home teams with good records and away favorites with good records have been positives. Well, one of my systems that we're going to talk about are good teams, which we just talked about, but I want to go through the subset and how I get to a trend like this that I share with you here weekly on our TNA report. So let's say we go back and I'm looking at teams from game 12 and later with a win percentage of 60% or higher. That's it. No other parameters. Just game 12 and later, win percentage of 60% or higher. Those teams, 50.1% against the spread with over 2,000 game sample size. When I look at teams 70% or higher, it comes down to 48.2%. When I look at teams with a win percentage of 75% or higher, it comes down again, 46.9%. And from game 12 later, going all the way back to 1991, teams with a win percentage of 80% and higher late in the year are 198 and 261, 43.1% against the spread. So now I have a workable number with just two parameters: win percentage above 80, game number 12 and higher. So I'll look at the site. Well, that's interesting. When I pull out the home record, they're 120 and 126, so 49% against the spread. That means away and neutral teams late in the year, 78 and 135, 36.6% against the spread. Now, when I take those away and neutral teams and look at teams as a dog of 2.5 or higher, that number goes to 11 and 34, 24.4% against the spread. FYI, that means those away and neutral teams as a favorite or small dog, still a 40% record, not bad. But again, so we're going to be looking for away and neutral dogs of 2.5 or higher with a win percentage of 80% or higher. Again, doesn't happen much, but when it does, they have been a fade. Before I get to our super systems for this week, to finish off our Thanksgiving week video, I do want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy holiday week to watch this video. And my sincerest wishes to you and your families to have a very safe and happy Thanksgiving holiday. Every Thanksgiving for the last 5, 6, 7 years, we've offered the best special we do. 7-day all access, $67. If you're traveling on vacation, it's the perfect way to sign up. As soon as I release a play, you will get notified. I release my football plays at least a day prior. So all of Saturday's plays are released by Friday. All of Sundays are released by Saturday. And I will have a college football 5%. My college football 5%'s 18 and 3, 81%. My football 5%'s combined, 5 and 1, 83%, and 23 and 7, 77% against the spread. I'm thankful. Hopefully you guys have learned something in these videos all season long. If you have, please hit the like button. Leave a comment if there's something you want added or have a question about something. And make sure you're following WagerTalk on all their social media networks. Over 300,000 subscribers follow WagerTalk TV. You should be part of that group. Well, let's take a look. We talked a lot about win percentages today. So I went back to 2011, week number 8 and higher. Teams with a win percentage over 60% that lost by 21 or more points last week. That applies to one team this week. That's the LA Chargers. Those teams that are still a winning record off an ugly loss have gone 26 and 12, 68.4% against the spread. Again, that's since 2011. FYI, they've also gone 14 and 24 over under. That's 63% to the under. System number 2. Quick, give me a guess. Since 2015, how many NFL teams have gained 500 yards and lost? Well, the answer, before the New York Giants last week, 37 teams since 2015 have gained at least 500 yards and lost the game. Those teams have not fared well the next week. They have gone 12 and 25, 32.4% against the spread. It says to fade the New York Giants. System number 3, the Cowboys came from behind to win the game. Teams that trailed by 9 or more at halftime and came back to win have been a fade. They have gone 60 and 99 ATS since 2012. That is 37.7%. System 3 says to fade the Cowboys. And finally, our fourth system, and this is opposite the other system. And people say, well, why do you give out two systems on two sides? Folks, I am not trying to give you a game to bet. I'm giving you situations to look for, and you have to decide which situation is stronger, how many positives, how many negatives to make your decision on your play. And this one's pretty strong too. Now, the other one's pretty powerful. You have to exert a lot of energy in the second half to overcome that lead. But how about this one? Teams with 4 days of rest or less off an overtime game against an opponent that was not on an overtime game. Well, since 2002, those teams are 5 and 24 against the spread. That is 17.2%. What two teams were in overtime and now playing on a short week? That, of course, would be the Kansas City Chiefs and the Detroit Lions. That record again, 5 and 24, 17.2% ATS. System 1, play on the Chargers. System 2, fade that team that gave up over 500 yards and lost. Fade the New York Giants. System 3, fade the Cowboys. But System 4 says fade the Chiefs and the Lions on a short week off an overtime game. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Our Turkey Day special, $67 for 7 days. I'll be back next week with some more NFL TNA.